Go. Woo!
Hey! Hello, everybody. Shinee is gay.
Girls' Generation is gay.
And you know it's good when you hear
I
Raikon.
can't Topany. Ooh.
In case you're wondering why I said Shinee is gay, it's because Shinee is gay. We have Key's new comeback, which is all of the gay Barbarella feels.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Minho being gay on Yumi Cell. So it's a win for Shinee. It's a win for the gays.
Mm-hmm. I was in the car last night and I was driving home and for some reason I had Shinee's new album and then I also had Ariana Grande's Thank You Next. And for some reason I was like, I just really want to listen to Thank You Next. But my car must be a show wall because every time a song ended on Thank You Next, it would skip over to Shinee's album and just pick a song. And I'm like, I want to listen to Thank You Next. But my car's like, you should really be listening to Shinee right now.
I mean, your car's not wrong.
It wasn't wrong, but I did enjoy it.
We are here to talk about things other than Shinee, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to talk about a Korean BL, Light on Me. And it's been a minute since we've done Korean BL because the last time we did it, we ran down 3 series in one. And to mixed results, I think that there was at least one gem to come out of that experience, but the other ones were kind of painful. And so we stepped back from Korean BL, and there has been more Korean BL that we've not watched. There was Nobleman Ryu's Wedding, there was You Make Me Dance, and I think there might have been one more Korean BL, but we really did step away because until they started honoring the storyline and giving a little bit more quality to the production, it just really wasn't worth the effort of sitting through, even though they were fairly short. But this was a great first step in changing our minds and maybe changing the direction of Korean BL. So, Mason, do you want to give us a little plot synopsis?
Sure. So the story's pretty simple. It is about Taekyung, who is like maybe not shy, but he's very quiet, and when you ask him a question, he will answer it exactly the way he is thinking. He does not mince his words. He tells you exactly what is on his mind. And kind of because of that, he doesn't really have any friends because he didn't think he needed any. But a teacher at his school, Mr. So, is like, hey kid, maybe you should join student council. Like maybe you should find a friend. So he does. He ends up joining the student council at first as a temporary because one of the members, Shinwoo, is not on board with him. He does not want him to join. He does not think he's going to be a good fit. But over time, of course, he warms up to him. And it's sort of just about how Taekyung ends up sort of falling in love with the president of the student council and kind of how that evolves. And yeah. That's the basic plot.
So this has so many tropes that I really love in BL, yaoi, fanfic. It's got kind of not enemies to lovers, but maybe like, conflict to friends to lovers. It's got love triangles. It's got supportive best friends. It's a school setting. Like there's all kinds of great stuff going on with this. But I think the impression that left me the strongest from watching this series is warmth. Like as I was rounding this out the last couple of episodes, I was just like, it feels really good to watch this show. And it's something that I had been waiting for Korean BL to incorporate, because one of the things about K-drama is that it's a very immersive experience. If you've ever watched an actual K-drama series, usually they're about 16 episodes, which this one was 16 episodes. And it is, the first episode really brings you in, catches you up to the plot, introduces like the immediate conflict almost right off the bat, and then there's a cliffhanger so that you're wanting to go to the next ones. But you start to like inhabit the lives of these characters, and you start to kind of learn their thought patterns, and you start kind of going through their emotions with them. And in the previous BLs that we watched, I did not feel like I was sharing emotions with the characters. I
Right.
felt like I was just watching to wait to see, like, are they ever going to get to something real? And this show, it just felt very immersive, and I felt genuine concern about the characters, and that made this experience so worthwhile for me. And there was no villain to me by the time this thing was over. There was at least one person that I'm like, I still don't know if I like you, but I didn't feel like there was like a, a cartoonish caricature type villain in this show.
Yes, totally agree.
Yeah.
It was well done.
Yeah. So how's your experience watching this show?
I liked it. I thought it was I think the cozy vibes were definitely there. I agree. It was very comforting to watch. I do think there was a point where I was like, all right, some of this pacing, let's pick it up a bit, y'all. But, it's a K-drama, so the pacing's going to be a lot slower than I would want to at times. And that's okay. But overall, I thought it was really solid. And I just grew to really enjoy the characters to a point where I was like, I'd watch a season 2. Let's see Down in college. I would love to see it. I would love to see him go to college and be the free gay butterfly artist that I think he wants to be inside.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Don.
I think
Okay.
he was my favorite. I think he's my favorite character.
Love triangles are like a tenet for Korean dramas. Like very few Korean dramas are without love triangles. And there's this whole thing in Korea about like second lead syndrome where like the main couple, you can kind of see them that they're going to be the couple from the very beginning, but then like towards the end you start to be like, well, there's another option maybe you should try. And this show did a really good job of like not telegraphing who the main couple was going to be from the very beginning. And they made it to where you were like, I would be okay whoever you choose. Whoever is fine by me.
I think both I think both options were super viable and I would have been satisfied with. I do think the right choice was made at the end. But
the only thing that like I was frustrated with is I feel like we waited until the 9th hour for our main character to make up his mind. Thinkin, I felt like he waited until the last 30 seconds of episode 15 to decide who he wanted.
Yeah. Well, it was a tough choice. Like there was genuinely good aspects about both of them. And I feel like Shinwoo had, oh my God. So first of all, there's a Shiwoon and a Shinwoo, and I always forget because their names are so similar. I always forget.
Okay, so the one with the orange hair, we're gonna call him Namgoon because he got called Namgoon a lot.
Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna call him. Yeah.
Okay. So Shinwoo, I feel like there's no, I guess, negatives to him. I feel like Down had negatives because we learned a bit more about like his personal problems, which I do think they didn't go into enough, Does that make sense? Like the episode where all of that shit went down and he had a talk with like the dean of the school and it was like, well, if your parents find out or the council finds out, and it's like, oh man, this is gonna get big. And like nothing ever happened with that.
Yeah, I do kind of wish we had more about that situation, but I also thought it was in line with his whole story arc. Like, because from the very beginning, his parents have been very absent. Like, we never see his parents. We barely ever even hear about his parents. And they seem like they just really don't have a lot of connection with him and his life. And so it almost makes sense that like he could go through something so embarrassing and anxiety driven, and his parents would be completely clueless about it because they're not clued into him.
Yeah, I guess I'm not saying I wanted like his parents to be like them to know or anything, but it did feel like, oh, the situation is potentially going to be very dangerous for Down, and then it just ends up being nothing by the next episode.
Yeah, and I mean the picture that was taken, Okay, so I guess we should talk about the plot because we're just like going all over the place. So let's start with the beginning. So we have Taekyung that Mason told you, he goes to the school and he doesn't have any friends. So one day he decides to make friends, and he starts with the school student council. And the president of the student council is like so welcoming and nice. And he's one of those guys that like you can see why he would be president of student council, because he's just like tirelessly kind to everyone. Yes. And just completely self-sacrificing. And unfortunately, those are the kind of people that kind of get walked on.
Yes.
Yeah. So initially, when we start with the president being kind, we're like, okay, well, you know, he's going to help this kid make friends. But as we're watching the president in his kind of altruistic maneuvering, we realize he's so selfless that he ends up getting himself in really bad situations because he does not know the power of the word no. And part of that is because he has a family that no matter what he does, there's no acknowledgement. Mm-hmm. Like, he was the top math student, his parents didn't care. He won a top art prize for a painting about his family didn't care. In fact, they let it be left at the school. And so part of what I really appreciated about the story is that they did a lot of show and a lot less tell.
Yes.
And so it was like, I wasn't surprised that his parents wouldn't have known about the situation. And with this picture being kind of easy to explain away, it's like, of course they wouldn't know about this. Of course they wouldn't have any clue that their son is going through this. At one scene, we actually see Dawn go home. No one's at home.
Yeah, he even says like, I'm home, and there's just like crickets.
Yeah.
It's really sad. I felt bad for the kid. I really liked him.
I liked him a lot too. But yeah, that is kind of the crux of Dawan's growth in this story, is that, you know, he goes on blind dates with girls that ask him out. Girls ask for his phone number, he gives it freely. They text him, he texts them back, but he doesn't have any intention other than to be kind. And I think it's because his parents have hurt him so much that he just doesn't want to hurt anybody else. Mm-hmm. So he's just like, oh, well, you're really brave to ask me for my number, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. And you were really brave to ask me on a date, so I'll go ahead and I'll go because I don't want to hurt your feelings. But I also am like, I'm a blank slate when it comes to this. I don't really care about trying to have an intimate relationship with anybody, because he really has not been shown how to have an intimate relationship because his parents are absent. Mm-hmm. So I liked him a lot. I thought that the best part of the show for him is that one scene at the end where he's walking down the hallway. Mm-hmm. Everyone is asking him to do stuff, and he's just like, nope, sorry, bitch, nope, got other things to do.
And they're all things that, like, why are they even asking him for this? Like, one student's like, can I borrow your gym clothes? And it's like, why are you asking the student council president to borrow his gym clothes? Why are you asking to borrow his book? Why are you asking for him to cover your shift at school?
Yeah, and it's because he's done all that before. Mm-hmm. There was a scene in I think the first episode or the second episode, where some kid said, I forgot my gym clothes. He's like, go to my locker and get mine out. So like, these are all things he had done in the past, but because of his arc of kind of like deciding to stop being a person who puts other people's needs before their own, he finally is able to be like, no, I'm sorry. The book you want to borrow that you see me currently reading, I'm going to continue to read it. I'm not going to just give it to you, you know? And I love that. And like the one guy bold enough to be like, can you do my assignment for me because I want to go hang out with my girlfriend? No, fuck you. You know, that's your assignment. I'm not going to do your work for you while you go hang out with your girlfriend. I'm lonely. No, absolutely not.
It's just like, I would like, I feel bad he never had a backbone, but also like, dude, these are weird asks. Like, these were weird asks from episode 1.
They are weird asks. And I think that the reason why he gets that so much is because of Korean society. I mean, we're not Koreans. We don't profess to be. We've never lived in Korea. So take our statements with a grain of salt. We are not the arbiters of society evaluations. But in Korean society, there is kind of like an ultra politeness. And I think part of that ultra politeness is the reason why he did all this to begin with. Because like, we have been K-pop fans for a really long time. And you would be shocked how many articles come up about this idol bowed to every person on the staff at a music show. Or this idol was rude to a stylist. And people just like, oh, burn him at the stake. I can't believe that he made to the hairdresser. So I think that like that societal expectation of always being very polite makes it to where he's got these parents who obviously don't see his achievements as being valuable, but at the same time, he's afraid to shame or disappoint his parents. So, you know, part of that is, I don't want people at school to think bad of me, and my parents get wind of that. So yeah, I'll do your homework. Yeah, I'll let you borrow my clothes. Yeah, you can borrow my book. Yeah, I'll do this for you. And really and truly, you know, it's not out of him that being really his personality. It's just the way he's been taught to get by in society, to present the best front and have people think the best of him. And what people think about him is super important when the scandal hits. So I would like to have your opinion about the scandal, because I've got my own opinion about it, but I really want to hear from you, because I have never had any issues with feeling like I was going to be outed. And I don't know if you've ever had any issues either, but I feel like maybe you could understand Daeon's rationale through that whole arc.
I was fully team down on that part of the story. And I really hated that everyone else around him made him feel like shit for not going to console or talk to Taekyung. I thought that was bullshit. I think all of them were wrong. And I think when Taekyung was like, you're a bad person, I think Dawn should have been, you know, that was a moment where I was like, I was really hoping he'd grow a bit of a spine and bite back, because this was going to affect him worse. Taekyung was affected because he was worried for Dawn. Dawn was affected because he's like, wow, this could really fuck up my life in the worst ways possible. And I felt very bad for him that people were asking him weirdly invasive questions, asking him like, it was just so uncomfortable to watch. I felt very bad for him the whole time. I do think he definitely owed Taekyung like a chat. Like they should have had a chat the day of, probably. But he had a really bad day, and then Taekyung was like, you're a bad person. You're just really selfish the whole time. You never once thought about me. And it's like, no, Taekyung, you're selfish because you're just thinking about how he didn't do what you wanted him to do for you. But that's not how this works. Like, he's also very upset. He's allowed to live in his feelings. And all he does is be selfless for other people. And finally, some crazy, terrible thing happens to him where he might be outed, and it could be bad for him if his parents find out, the school find, if like the councilman or whatever they said finds out, like this is bad for him. And I don't know why he's not allowed to think for himself for once. The one time he ever thinks for himself, he's called an asshole. And it's like, fuck all of you. Fuck all of you for doing that to him. That boy needed a hug, and all y'all did was make him feel worse.
I felt very much the opposite. I was totally on Taekyung's side. I totally got where he was coming from. I was glad he said it out loud. And yeah, I was like, fuck Dawn all day. This is the thing. Taekyung has a bad phone, which he needs to get that shit fixed. He should have got it fixed way before he finally did. But, you know, if you got caught in some type of photo scandal with somebody else, it stands to reason that you would check in. Like, just straight up check in. But Don, yes, he had a reason to be concerned about, like, my parents are going to ship me off to America. This is going to be a big embarrassment. This is going to affect my life. I get all that. But like when it came to people who approached him about it, like he got approached by the teacher, he got approached by other people like, hey, anything I can do to help, anything I can do to help alleviate this. He totally just blows it off and acts like it doesn't exist. Like even there's one moment after the confrontation where he thinks about going into the group chat saying, this is not true or whatever else. He just totally ignores the situation. And in a lot of ways, I can see why Tekken is like, I'm really upset with you because I couldn't go through this without worrying about you. Like I felt like when I found out about this, my first thought was, we need to check in. We need to make sure we're okay. I understand how much this can impact you. So I was looking for you to find out, are you okay? Are you all right? And my upset is the fact that it feels like you didn't consider me at all. You just decided to blow this off, and in blowing this off, I feel like you didn't think about how much this is affecting me as well, when this is our scandal. It's not your scandal, it's our scandal.
So
I got that.
It was their scandal, but Taekyung wasn't affected negatively, like, at all. Like, everyone was talking about the president, no one's really talking about Taekyung.
I think everybody was talking about the president because the president was a more known person. Because Tekken had no friends. So, I mean, why would people talk about the guy who has no friends that no one ever talks to, instead of talking about the guy who everyone knows and is the most popular student in school?
Right. I'm just saying that Dawn had it way worse, and Taekyung, I agree he should have gone to Taekyung and been like, and checked in, because it was their scandal. But it's like, damn, the one time this kid has something bad happen to him, he's called selfish for like being a teenager about it. And it's like, come on, y'all.
But it's also not the first time he's done that. When they were in the classroom and the other guys walked in, because Dawn got confronted about the bracelet that Tekken bought him. He's like, oh, a guy brought me this bracelet. And they're like, that's really gay, dude. Seems kind of gay. And he immediately pulls the bracelet off his wrist. Then they're in the classroom studying, and Tekken takes his wrist. And then the guys walk in, immediately snatches his wrist away from him. So, I mean, it wasn't just today. It was every single thing. I noticed you don't have the bracelet on. I noticed you pulled away from me when other people could see us. And then now we're in this and you don't care. And yes, Don is getting the brunt of this attention, but also it's almost like saying that Tekken's not as important because he's not popular. Whereas Don is more important because he's popular and more people care about him. And it almost diminishes Tekken's humanity by saying, well, because you're not as popular, this doesn't really affect you as much, when really internally it could be affecting him tremendously, because this is a kid that does not have friends. And he could be thinking, this is it. I'm never going to have friends again because of this. So his little world is super impacted because his world is so tiny. So I felt like it was a long time coming for them to have that conversation. And also, I thought he was really right in saying, you are a liar. All you do is lie. Because really and truly, it sounds mean, but all Don has done is lie to other people to keep them from being mad at him or not liking him. And I think he needed to be confronted even early on. I was like, you need to let him know to quit being a people pleaser. But finally, when it got to that moment, I'm like, yeah, just tell him, like, the reason why you didn't check in with me is because you're afraid of what people will think. And if you had come to check in with me and somebody had seen us together, it would have made things worse for you. So I don't know. I was on Taekion's side, but I felt bad for Don anyway. But I was just like, he's not telling a lie here.
No, but I don't know. I also don't think Taekyung was totally in the right to just like be an asshole about it. I think that Dawn was clearly very hurt and had a lot going on. And I think that also should be taken into consideration. You know, like I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to invalidate Taekyung's feelings about this because he's less popular. What I'm saying is, given the evidence of the show, this did not impact Taekyung was impacted because Dawn was bad about it. Dawn was impacted because everyone around him was hurting him.
I guess I see that, but I also see like when Taekyung went to look for Don and he went into the room to look for him, as soon as he left the room, everyone was laughing at Taekyung. They weren't laughing at Don. They're like, oh, there goes his little boyfriend looking for him. So that was a thing. And then also, like, he didn't start out yelling at him. That conversation started with, hey, I've been looking for you. I want to check in with you. So he was doing the thing that he was hoping that Don would do. And Don blew him off. It was like, I don't want to talk about it right now. And it's just like, I think if he had at least said, I'm overwhelmed and I can't talk about it because I'm so overwhelmed right now, that would have been a better response than just being like, let's not talk at all.
I don't know. He looked extremely upset. I think if you see someone that looks that upset, I think that's a fault on Taekyung for not reading social cues, honestly.
And let's talk about that, because Thinkin,
that one's on him, I think. He should have said, oh, Dallin looks upset. He does not want to talk. And it was a growing moment for the both of them. I think they were both right and wrong in this situation.
Well, that's another thing. Thinkin, part of this show, and I was going to ask you if you got the same read. I don't know if it's because the actor's just not a good actor or if it was a choice, but Thinkin almost seems like he's on some kind of like,
yes, very neurodivergent coded, I would say.
Yeah, because he's like, he is so completely blunt because I think he doesn't know social cues. Having not had any friends and just making his personality, everything he's thinking comes out.
Right. And yeah, so, definitely off the bat, I was like, oh, this feels very like neurodivergent coded.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to claim that he's anyway, but like all throughout, it just seems like he's not socialized. And because he's not socialized, he doesn't pick up on a lot of stuff. Like, I don't even think he had a thought in his mind of like, this could go bad, me confessing to the most popular boy in school. Like that, I don't think that ever happened for him.
It didn't, but in some ways that is what I respect about him too, because he was just like, oh, I like this boy. I'll just go confess, like whatever. Like, damn, dude. Okay.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's a maturity level difference, I think, because then you have somebody like Shinwoo, who in middle school was like, I have a crush on a boy. And everybody's like, so, you know, he's like the other side of it. It's really weird how like all three of them are like different parts of the same kind of timeline of discovery. So it's like, I have innocent feelings about a boy that I like. Then the other one's like, I am realizing that maybe people don't take too kindly to this gay thing. And then the last one was like, been there, done that, scared as shit, not sure if I want to do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find it very interesting, like how they've all kind of settled in different places along that particular coming out spectrum.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why ultimately Down would have been the wrong pick for Taekyung. Because I just don't think Down was ready. I think Down had a lot more growing to do as a person before he was ready to enter a gay relationship like that.
I agree. And I'm just surprised how, maybe it's because he's not socialized. It just feels like Taekyung didn't have any hangups when it came to like, okay, so this first guy didn't work out, but the second guy's super into it. Let's go. And just no, even after going through the scandal, he's like, oh well, people think I'm gay, so let's be gay.
Yeah, he's like, and people are like, you're gay, and he's like, and what? Like, what about it? I like that about him. Oh, this show is good.
Yeah, this show it has a lot of teeth. Okay, so how did you feel about Shinwoo and kind of his defense mechanism in regards to his relationship with Taekyung initially and then moving forward?
Oh, like trying to push him away? I mean, yeah, it's like not the best way to make friends with the person you like, but
the fact that like a clear dildo got shoved up his butt in the hallway, which was such a random thing. I still want to know why he had the box of dildos.
That was never explained. It was literally there for the dildo gag. And then they didn't even do like comedy like that the rest of the show, which was interesting. It was like the
Yeah.
one gag, and then they were done.
Yeah, and it can be like, are you mad because I put it up your butt? It got really far up there. It's just like, this is such a weird tonal gag to the rest of this show.
And that whole scene where when he like tripped and fell and shoved it up his butt, like it's one of those things where it's like they did it in the show and you're like, this probably worked better in comic form when it was like 2 drawings from A to B. But when you have to see the whole process of how he tripped and fell and somehow shoved a dildo up his ass, it's like,
No, I don't get it, man.
yeah.
Speaking of comics and panels, so this show actually is an otome game.
It felt like it. I was noticing that while I was watching it, that the show is a lot of like, you go into one room, you talk to someone, that person leaves. Someone else comes in, you chat with that person leaves. Another person comes in to talk with Taekyun, then that person leaves.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And also, Taekyun's original character name was Taemin.
Hey, why did they change it? Because of Taemin?
I think they were like, we can't afford any kind of lawsuits here.
Maybe.
Because this is a very pretty boy, and you know his name is Taemin. SM might show up with some suits.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, oh my gosh, the guy who plays Taekyung, he looks like a freaking porcelain doll.
Yes, his skin was so smooth.
All of his features, it was almost a detriment to his acting because he was so pretty that the one scene where he starts to break down and cry.
Oh, yeah, and he's crying like, and you're like, oh, okay, that's how you cry.
Yeah.
That was like, the character choice you made? Okay.
But I guess it's just because he's like, I'm so pretty that if I weep, it will be too beautiful.
The angels cry with me.
They're like, boo, him.
Yeah.
I can imagine like 3 girls sitting in the park with peanuts just throwing at it while he's crying beautifully. Boo, hiss, bitch, you look great anyway. So yeah, it was tough because you could tell he was an inexperienced actor, and also he's just so incredibly pretty that, like, I don't know, it was just tough. It was really tough to believe that you have these problems.
I definitely think he was the worst actor of the main cast.
The best actor was Namgung.
Oh, for sure. Like, everything he was in, I was excited to see him there. And I love the student council scene where he pops out with the cape and the flowers in his hair. It was so cute.
He was. And you could totally see what that would look like if that was like an anime form. It was kind of like that scene from Lipstick. Where it's just like all the flowers in the frame. Like that's totally what that would be like if it was in a game or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was great. And I loved how like he's the plot mover in a lot of ways, because he definitely has those conversations that help people go from one level of understanding to another. But at the same time, I never felt like he picked a side in the love triangle. He was just like, I just want people to talk.
Yeah, he's like, y'all need to work this out yourselves. I'm cool with either way, you know?
Yeah.
I thought if I were him, though, I would have been way harder on Miss Sohee. Way harder. Yes,
because what she did, like I said, there's no like cartoonish villains here, but Sohee is absolutely the villain. She absolutely is the villain.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I guess I understand why they forgave her. I would never. She'd be on my shit list until I died if she did that to me.
It just is so frustrating that in this show, she had a chance to do the right thing. because she actually didn't even take the picture. She got the picture from some other girls. So initially, she was the only person with this knowledge, and she could have easily just wiped it off the face of the earth. But because he was mad at Thinkin, she decided to damage Don under this misguided belief that, like, oh, because he's so popular, no one would take him being gay seriously. And it's like, girl, what planet are you on? Do you not watch the news? Anytime a popular person is even slightly hinted at doing something scandalous, people automatically jump to, well, I knew they were like that all along. And so how do you think he was going to escape this unscathed? I get that your whole thing was, I want to push them apart because Thinkin seems to be getting all of his attention. But just to be so immature as to think that this wasn't going to hurt him at all, that's dumb. And so I really do feel like she was remorseful in the end when she was apologizing, because she really did not think that far ahead. But it's also like, you're too stupid for us to remain friends.
Yes. And she at least had that one scene where the girls were talking shit in the bathroom and she stood up for him. That was nice. I was like, okay, maybe she did actually learn her lesson, you know, because it matters most when you're standing up for the people when they're not there, you know? So I respected her there. But overall, I just felt bad that it was another boys' love where the female character was just kind of like a disagreeable meanie who did a bad thing. And it's like,
I was disappointed in that, but K-dramas usually have cartoonish villains, and I think they could have made her way worse than what she ended up being.
That's true. When I was reading reviews of this before I even started, and they were like, just another mean woman, and I was like, so I expected it to be worse, but it was not.
Yeah. So one thing that I thought this show did amazing was the reveal of Dawn's feeling about Taekyung, because throughout the show, I kind of was wondering, like, does he really like Taekyung like that? Or is he just such a friendly person that he doesn't know that he's giving off these vibes? And the people who wrote this did a really good job of putting that thought in our heads, because there is the scene of the girl that he was texting for weeks. And she's like, why would you text me for weeks if we weren't gonna build up to something? Like, don't be nice to people in a way that misleads them. And for a minute there, I'm like, maybe that's what he's doing with Taekyung, is he's like being so nice and doesn't realize that this is like veering off into romantic interest territory.
Yeah.
And so when Shinwoo confronts him outside of the classroom and is like, it's because you like him too, I was like, wow, first of all, I appreciate no pussyfooting in this conversation. But two, I'm like, so you did feel this whole time. And then we get not a deleted scene, but an extra scene at the end of episode 15 that shows him kissing him on the forehead. And it's like, I'm glad that you didn't show this to us early on, because part of what made me feel bad for Taekyung too is like, what if he just really has a crush on a straight guy or an ace guy?
I honestly took it very at face value. I was like, oh, Dawn really likes him. And I think I thought that because I think the bracelet scene, I think if he didn't like him back, I don't think he would have taken the bracelet. Honestly, I think it would have been like, oh, sorry, girl. Like, if that girl who he was texting with tried to give him a gift, I think he would have been like, oh yeah, we should stop this. And I think he took the bracelet, and then he was about to say, he was like smiling. He looked like very happy. So I just kind of was like, oh, I guess he does like him.
See, and I felt different because he let Sohee hang on to him for 3 years without ever telling her, like, it's not going to be this way. So I felt like he's not the kind of person who would be upfront and be like, hey, I don't really feel like that for you. I feel like he would take that because, like, oh, you were brave to give me this bracelet. You're brave to tell me your feelings.
True, but he did also specify at certain times, he was like, yeah, I've never told anyone some of the stuff that I've told you. And to me, that was like oh, okay. Yeah. I think it's going to go somewhere.
So that's why I was just...
different readings, you know?
Yeah, and we all have different readings, but I was just like, okay, so you're confirming that that's what this is. Because initially I was like, maybe he didn't know he was interested in Taekyung until the scandal. And he's like, oh, okay. So when I took the bracelet and I told other people that a boy gave me this bracelet, I didn't think anything of it. And then there was this implication that it's gay. And now people are upset about the fact that it could be gay. So has what I've been doing with him been me being gay for him? Like, that's kind of the way that I watched it. But yeah, it is open to interpretation. But I was so nervous for our baby because I was like, oh my gosh, you're in love with a straight boy. This is gonna turn out horrible. But yeah.
I would have had to stop watching. I would have been like, triggered. I have to stop. Close the laptop.
You're like, I'm just gonna start out with the default that everyone is gay, kind of like how the heteros do.
Yeah.
And then you have to prove that you're straight later on.
I know, like when Namgoon kind of proved he was straight, I was like, the foursome in my mind.
Yeah, because they would have been powerful. But also Namgoon, I was okay with him being straight because I felt like I didn't want him to be a default because it wasn't ever gonna be poly.
He would have been everyone's like default. But
yeah.
I don't know. I just hope I think part of me felt like they insinuated he might get together with Sohee, but also at the end they were like, yeah, all of us are single, so maybe not. I hope he doesn't. But he did give the flowers and that stuff. So
he gave her the flowers and he called her face ugly, and then like she punched him and he's like, ow, why'd you punch me so hard? So like he gives off a mixed reading when it comes to Sohee. But yeah, I was like, you deserve somebody who is super into you because you're a really good dude.
Yes,
like there was
he is never a great catch. It's kind of like, why has no one snagged you up yet?
Right? You love to eat, you love to norebang, and you're good at norebang too.
Oh yeah, like, they were like, oh, most people don't go this hard at karaoke. And I'm like, what do you mean? This is what you're supposed to be doing at karaoke.
Yeah, he was singing his heart out. And it wasn't until after the show was over that I found out that both he and the president were part of a group called The Man Black, which they were not a successful K-pop group. Let's just put it out there. We watched a performance, like a dance practice for their song Free Fall.
Yeah.
And it's not our cup of tea.
It was just bad. I'm not gonna lie. I won't be nice about it. They couldn't dance. The singing wasn't great, I guess, based on the track, and the song was shit.
I just didn't. I have my likes and my dislikes, and that's just not for me. Like, I'm not a Day 6 fan, and I can honestly acknowledge Day 6 has great music. I'm not a fan. And that's why when I was watching this, I'm like, this just may be that I don't like this music, and I can't accept this at all because I don't like this music.
I just thought it was super generic and there was no redeeming quality. But I'm meaner about it.
I couldn't even examine it in that way because I'm just like, this song is so not me. And so I'm literally watching it to see if I can recognize the different people from the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I do feel bad a little bit because it was a kind of a big boy group, and the practice room looked very small. Like, it looked like they didn't have enough room to do the whole dance properly.
Yeah, and they've been inactive for a while. They've been inactive for at least a year. They never had big views though. Like, they don't have a single MV that has over 100,000 views.
Ooh.
Right.
You're gonna say 1 million.
No.
Not even 100,000. Oh, that's some real failure. Apologies to people involved. But I think acting is better for both of them. I thought they were both really good, especially Namgoon. And also, our lead was in Produce season 1.
Yes.
He placed 73 though, so he was really just a special guest on the show. Sorry to this man, but there's 101 contestants. If you place 73, that show aired 5 years ago. I don't know who you are. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Sorry about it. But yeah, they all have previous lives. I think that I haven't talked enough about the actor who plays Shinee. I have to say that I feel like Shinwoo's character was written for all the losers in the world because
Okay.
because like how many of us in our lifetime have like secretly crushed on somebody and have swallowed our feelings because we were so afraid of being rejected. And he spends so much of this show just sitting in the background, swaying in the background. And, you know, in real life, that type of guy never gets the person they're looking for. That kind of girl never gets the kind of person they're looking for because it's just easy to become like this nameless, faceless character. And so I thought it was very interesting how they slowly plucked up his courage and made him get past his previous hurts. The only thing that was missing for me is that he never really had the conversation with Taekyung about what happened to him before. Taekyung found out about it from other people. And I think that that would have been good for him to say is, I know that you like Don and I know where he's coming from because I've been there and I'm willing to do it again for you because you're that important. I'm willing to face scrutiny for you.
That would have been a nice conversation to have. And they could have fit it in. The show was long enough for them.
Yeah, there was plenty of time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of scenes of people staring at snacks on tables. We could have absolutely, or staring at the Picari sweat machine. So we absolutely could have made room for this. But yeah, I wanted them to have that conversation because I think it's important for their relationship because Taekyung is so fearless about who he likes and how he likes them that I think that there will be times where Shinwoo kind of turtling up, he's not going to understand that and he's going to misunderstand it.
Yeah. But I feel like by the end they had fairly good communication going. Yeah. So I have faith in them. I did love the scene where Taekyung, like at the end of episode how many episodes was this?
There's 16 altogether.
Okay, so at the end of 15, when they're in the student room, the student council room, and like he removes Shinwoo's hand from his arm, and then he just like holds his hand. I was like, this is so cute. They are
the cutest boyfriend.
And then like
charms on their backpack walking to school.
So cute. And then like even the walk home from that night where they were like, where Taekyung was like, I guess we can both say that we've been in a relationship now. And then Shinwoo was like, no, he like got flustered and like walked away. And then Taekyung like hooks his arm through his. And I was just like, these babies. This is so cute.
The scene where they were clothes shopping and then they go sit down at the table because Shinwoo's been so weird in the store and he's like, I bought these shoes because I don't want you to be nervous on stage. And the reason I was nodding at everything you brought up is because you look good in everything because you're beautiful. I'm like, oh my God, look at this baby mom in his heart.
It's like, y'all just need to fuck already. Get it over with.
I mean, it's just the most adorable. And then they had the little hats and they were taking the selfies in the little hats. It's like, it's so sweet.
So cute.
In the crowd with the little flower behind his ear.
Yeah, a little blue flower. What a baby. Oh, they were so good. Okay, wait. So what was your take on this? Because maybe I'm just dumb. I was a little bit confused as to the timeline because the very first scene is they're like at the beach or park or whatever, and it's just the four guys. And Taekyung's like, in my 20th year, I was in my first love. And then it says 2 years later. But by the end of the series, it's the same scene that we had at the beginning. They're all in the same clothes, but Sohee's there. And I think it was the summer after that school year.
I don't know.
That was odd. Because I would like some answers about that.
Because 20th year, it really depends on like when he was born and the Korean age system. Because
I think he was, okay, 20th year, you would be a senior in high school, I believe, because that would mean you were 18 internationally. So, and they started, and 2 years behind, they were sophomores. So that checks out that he would be a senior. But the scene was different at the very first scene and the very last scene are the same, but they're also different. And I just didn't get that. I didn't get why they did that.
I don't know. I mean, they didn't really talk about school in the last scene. They were just
Right.
like, yeah.
So
So
was it too? So like, was it too? But it seemed like that was their first kiss, though.
I don't think it was their first kiss because after they kissed, because like, okay, when they were walking at near the end of episode 15, I guess maybe I'm trying to remember, in the sweater with the beret, when they were walking, he's like, this is the story of my first love. And then after they kissed, he said, and my continuing love. So I feel like they didn't wait 2 years to kiss. I think it's more of like they had gotten to a point in their relationship where Shinwoo was more open to being physically intimate, because when they were walking to school, he was kind of like a little nervous to be holding hands and doing everything. So I think at that point they were at a part of his relationship where he had gotten more comfortable being romantic and intimate in public.
Right. But it still feels like that was the summer of their going into their junior year, you know? Like I
I
didn't
mean, I
buy
can't
that
help because everyone was in their street clothes. No one was in their uniform.
right. Because it was summer.
Also, these are all the oldest teenagers to ever live.
Yeah, they're all like 25, 26, 27.
Yes, and they look it. They do not look like teenagers. None of the other kids in school look like teenagers. They all look like college students.
Well, that's why I thought the teacher was one of the students at first. Because I was like, oh, who's this kid? I just assumed. No, like, he's the teacher. And I'm like, he looks like 2 or 3 years older than them.
But he is. So he is 24. She was the youngest. And then Namgung, his actor is 27, but the teacher's actor is 30.
Yeah.
So not much difference in there.
It's like Glee.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's an interesting little show, but I would, if somebody was new to Boys Love and they want to dip their toe into something that was quality but not too serious, I would absolutely pick this.
Yeah, this is a good show.
Yeah. Bucksies.
Bless you.
Thank you. When I was watching the whole photo drama part of it, I had one very clear thought in my mind, and that was, this is like the Unicorn and Ponies version of The Effect. And I was really scared that this show was going to devolve into like something really traumatic and heartbreaking. And I'm so glad it didn't turn out that way, because I don't know if you ever watched The Effect, but if you haven't, don't watch it when you're in a bad mental state. So The Effect is a Thailand boys love. It's a really short series. I want to say it's like 4 or 6 episodes. It's not long at all. But it's got an actor in it that we saw in Love by Chance. He played what's the character? Okay, no, it wasn't Love by Chance. I think it was Sodus. I think he was like a friend of Sainto in Sodus. Yes, he was. He was a friend of Sainto in Sodus. Really pretty boy. In this show, he's in college, it's his first year of college, and he makes friends with like the most popular kid in the college. Like his face is on billboards for the college. He's so popular. They make friends and they're really super close, just like this show is. And people start to have a rumor that they're gay. And the guy who was like the new student, the freshman, he's like, I don't really have gay feelings for you. I just really admire you because you're the type of person I want to be. Like, you are a representative of the school, you're super popular, you make great grades, and I'm very shy, introverted. Nobody knows who I am. I don't have any friends. So I would love to be like you. And what he doesn't know is that this guy that's super popular is gay for him. But trigger warning, talking about sexual assault here. After the scandal of they might be gay for each other happens, the really popular guy goes over to the freshman's house and he's just like, I am okay with this scandal because I like you. And the freshman is like, this has been a misunderstanding. I don't have those feelings for you. I admire you tremendously. I'm glad to be friends with you, but I don't feel that way. And that's when the popular guy turns around and says, you fucking led me on, you little teasing bitch, and proceeds to rape him in his home and spends like the better part of a weekend constantly beating him and raping him, violently beating and raping him. And finally, he escapes his home and manages to make it to the street. Because in Thailand, a lot of those homes have gates, so people don't really see what's going on in the home. Makes it outside the gate, and someone on the street sees him and takes him to a hospital. And he becomes suicidal and depressed. And the popular guy, he is from a wealthy family, and his family's like, we'll give you a money settlement to forget all this happened. That way our son doesn't have to go to jail. Because the freshman was like, I kind of want you to go to jail because I'm scared of you. Well, Mr. Popular does not let up and continues to confront him at the bus stop and outside of his house and at the school and being like, but I love you. I love you. I did that because I love you. Don't you see? I love you. And he's like, I don't love you. I'm afraid of you. And there's one scene in that show that when I watched it, I cried. Like, and I don't normally cry during shows, but like thinking about it's making me cry. So after his rape, he's waiting for a bus from school, and his assaulter basically shows up and grabs him and is like, I love you. And this baby is so petrified that he pisses on himself and falls on the ground, screaming.
What the fuck? This show sounds horrible.
And the show doesn't have a happy ending. He doesn't get with the popular guy, thank God. But he also was like living with this trauma and trying to figure out how to live with this trauma. But that's the thing, like, you know, when we're talking about boys love and some of these other shows, yeah, it's cotton candy and it's fun and everything's great, but in real life or in a realistic setting, it doesn't always happen this way. And there are so many people whose love stories will never be shown in boys love. There's so many people whose attempts at recreating these scenarios end horribly. And that's why I was really scared, because South Korea has been so homophobic that I thought that we were going to end up with another effects on our hand. And I'm like, I don't want that. Please don't do that to me. But it ended up going the way it did, and I was very, very grateful for that. But yeah, in a lot of ways, a gay revelation, even if the other person is gay, it doesn't always mean that it's going to be, we're going to be happy, because people are also deeply closeted. People also have, you know, psychological traumas just from the process of coming out. If you're trans, it's even harder, because you're not just dealing with other people assuming that the person that you're with is gay, but also them mocking your gender and considering it to be like an even deeper level of perversion than just being plain gay, you know? And it sucks that that is the world that we're in, but it's also really important. And, you know, even though The Effects was a hard watch, I was grateful for it to be made. It's important to remember that these stories are escapism. They're very needed escapism, but they are escapism, because in real life, things can go south so quickly. But it takes an extreme amount of bravery to come out to your crush. It really does. So I'm grateful for media like this for the ones who aren't experiencing the fantasy. But I'm glad that we have media like the effects that shows what it's like when the fantasy is not the outcome.
Mm-hmm. I think both are definitely needed. I think the only way to grow as a person and to move past certain things is to deal and consume media that deals with the hard truths of things that you connect with. But at the same time, I think only consuming media that deeply affects you on an emotional and like, oh, I'm gonna cry, or like, I have like a lot of thinking to do, also kind of sucks. And it's nice to have something that you're like, I have hope for the world now. This is hopeful, you know?
Right. And, kind of moving into Samantha's rant territory. Also, I'm giving this show an 8.5. Moving into Samantha's rant territory, it's something I've talked to Mason about before, but it's the commodification of Black trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And how, there was a time around like 12 Years a Slave and that kind of era of cinema where like it seemed like everything that was coming out was about dealing with the after effects of slavery, dealing with the after effects of segregation, dealing with the civil rights movement, dealing with racism. And, I'm not saying that being queer and being Black are the same experiences, but both are outsider experiences. And for those of us who are part of these kind of outlying communities, yes, we would like our trauma to be addressed, and we'd like our oppressors to see what our trauma looks like, to feel it, to internalize it, and then try to do better. But at the same time, we all deserve escape. We all deserve movies where our communities are wealthy and happy and in loving relationships and having fun and doing all the things that society creates barriers for.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of the reason why BL has such a strong foothold with so many people, because you get tired of the fucking bareback mountains. Or Brokeback Mountains. I'm sorry, not bareback. That's a porn.
It's also a good segue into what we're watching next week.
But you get tired of Brokeback Mountain. You get tired of Milk. You get tired of
Boys Don't Cry, and the band plays on, It's just like for so long, same thing with queer stories. It's like it was only the tragic stuff.
Yeah.
For a long time.
And we're tired of that. There's a place for everything, but we're really tired of that. And no bashing on the effects, because like I said, the effects was a super valuable show, and I recommend people watching it if you have the mental fortitude to do so. But if you don't, avoid that trauma, sis. You don't need it. But yeah, it's just, that's one of the great things about BL. And that's also on the flip side of that same coin, it's why it fucking pisses us off that people say, oh, well, why are you upset about homophobia in this BL? Because it's all fantasy. Because I'm sorry, in my fantasies, racism does not play a factor. Like, I don't have like porn fantasies where I'm like, yeah, you dirty Negro bitch. No, that doesn't turn me on. I don't respond to that. So why would anyone believe that a queer fantasy would be to have people be homophobic and biased against you? A show like Tonhong Chonlati, which is quickly scaling the heights of like one of my least favorite BL I've ever watched. How is it the fantasy to have your partner's father be adamantly against you and your gayness and demanding that his son produce babies for him?
Right.
What part of the fantasy is that? So yeah, strong thoughts, strong feelings.
Right. No, that's a good point. I think I'm recommending you watch it, Sam, but also to viewers. There is a great video by Lola Sebastian. She's a YouTuber. She made a video on Disney adults recently, and it kind of goes into like towing the line of, yes, sometimes watching that happily ever after is great, but also sometimes you have to face the harder stuff as well. And It's a very good video that if you enjoyed Sam's talk, I think you would enjoy that video too, and her overall thesis at the end.
Yay! Also, Stephanie watched the new Marvel movie and she made the comment, now that Disney owns Marvel, everyone's parents have to die.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about comic books if that was always the case in comic books too.
I'm not sure, but apparently in this new movie, the main character's parents both die. It's just like, are people not allowed to like have parents when they're older? Like, does everyone's parents have to die before they turn 30?
I don't want to speak more about it without spoiling it for people watching. Especially about Shang-Chi.
Uh-huh.
I do think it was weird that there were no parents in this show, though. Everyone's parents were like gone.
Yeah, even though at least the one guy's like, my parents were visiting my grandmother. And if you're a senior in high school, you could be trusted to be home alone. Whereas the other guy, his parents just fucking peaced out. Like, they're just not there.
Yeah. They honestly are probably in a different country. It doesn't even seem like they're anywhere near him. But
yeah. Also, like, side tangent, really small. Stephanie was telling me that like the lead actor for the Shang-Chi movie was like on the internet trying to defend the internet.
What? When?
Like, not
I didn't hear
defend,
about this.
not defend as if like we need to embrace pedophiles, but something like how the way that our thoughts about queer people have changed, we need to start treating pedophiles with empathy and trying to get them the help that they need.
Well, that sounds like a major red flag.
Yes.
I'll have to look this up. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie already had problems because Miss Awkwafina was caught in 4K with that one interview question about her black scent disappearing now that she's famous.
Yeah. So, like, you know, how do you feel? Well, you know, that's a conversation, and you know, it's a conversation that, you know, at some point I would like to have and discuss the points regarding that conversation. Like, bitch, we're in a conversation right now. That's what this is called.
It's like the conversation is happening. You're not willing to do it.
Yeah, we're having the conversation now, and you're trying to schedule it for another time. No. You know, I mean, she really does need to talk about it. But also, like, just using the stage name Awkwafina, let's not act like that stage name isn't rooted in anti-Blackness. Because it's just like when people make fun of Sharkeisha and make fun of the Latashas and Shaniquas of the world. You know, saying Awkwafina, there's a very specific stereotype that you are implying, which is the Black girl with the funny ass name. But guess what? The joke is I'm not Black, but I still got the funny name. Ha ha. You know, it's just like how people make fun of Black girls for being named Porsche and Mercedes and, you know, being named after luxury goods because you don't own those luxury goods. So that's why you're named after it. You know, shit like that. And I think that that's a conversation that she not only needs to have with people, but she needs to change the fucking name.
Yeah. I don't know why she doesn't just go by Nora. Isn't that like her real name, Nora?
Yeah, but it's just like,
Nora.
no.
Perfectly good name.
It's just like, you know, if I was walking around talking about that, you know, I don't know, I can't even think of a way to have an Asian name that would be like insulting to Asian people. But anyway, if I made my name seem like, oh, it's Asian like because I have really small eyes, that would be very, very inappropriate. Okay, so I gave my rating. I said 8.5 because I really, really like this show. What's your rating?
Just an 8. I thought it was solid.
It gave me the feels, so I gave it emotional points.
No, that's valid. I liked it too. I feel like I had something to say and then I forgot. Oh, should we talk about what we're watching next time?
Yes. Should we also do Instagrams?
Sure. I didn't pull them up, but
I did. And when I was pulling them up, I noticed that you were already following one person.
Listen. I can neither confirm nor deny.
I love the fact that the internet will always tell on you, no matter who you are. I go to the screen and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take a real shot quick to get ready for Instagram of the day, and it's like followed by. I'm like, oh, this bitch is telling stories.
Listen, it was an attractive There were attractive people in the show.
Yes. And his Instagram has a lot of attractive photos of this person. Even though it looks like there were a lot of photos that may have been wiped or something, because the Instagram doesn't go back very far.
Oh, people do that. Like Wonho did that. He took away all the good pics for this new album. Which how dare he?
That's okay because they live on Twitter forever.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very
like,
true. I'll just go to Carolyn's profile.
Oh, I just, in search on Twitter, Wonho's ass.
Yeah.
Naked Wonho.
Yeah, Wonho thighs. Ugh,
Yeah.
where's the OnlyFans?
He's got so much thigh that I really question the size of the meat. But that's me being a pervert. But like, you notice he never shows off the bulge. He only shows off like the thighs, the back, the ass, the chest. It's giving real bottom energy.
Oh, yeah. The way
Yeah.
he poses is just like, Also, did you see that video of Shawn Mendes at the Met Gala where he's like, it's giving Cher. And people were like, okay, Shawn.
I didn't see that one, but I also was like, why is he not wearing a shirt to the Met Gala? Why is he at the Met Gala with suspenders and a jacket?
Because it's what I would like to see from Shawn Mendes, okay?
He said, they asked for us to make requests before the show began, and this is what I put in the suggestion box.
I said, what if Shawn Mendes went shirtless?
Shawn Mendes is a very good-looking guy, but he looks like there would be no conversations to be had, or that the conversation would be the most boring conversation on earth. Like, it would be him constantly talking about his workout routine and his investment strategies.
He does just have like a normal white guy face to a point where it is like, what do you like? I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
There could be more there. I hope there is, but
I mean, that's the reason why he's probably very content dating Camilla, because like anything she wants is like
personality.
Yeah, he's like, sure, baby, whatever. Because he just doesn't care. He's like, I'm gonna go work out now. Call me when you're ready.
Ugh, I hate her. Sorry. Maybe I should put that on camera.
I don't hate her. I just think that I feel like she did this number and we're watching this happening now. And so it's like, I can't even hate her because I just feel like I'm watching everything go downhill for her. So like, we went from Fifth Harmony and her being considered probably one of the more talented people in Fifth Harmony to her leaving Fifth Harmony and people accusing the members of Fifth Harmony of bullying her, to her having like Havana, and then now like her being accused of being racist, her old Tumblr post being revealed, her Finsta, her dating Shawn Mendes, the Cinderella movie. And so like, I feel like we're watching that arc, and since we're on the other side of that arc, I don't feel anything other than like, see if you can get out of it.
Yeah, we'll see. Man, that Cinderella movie was honestly not even so bad that it was funny. It was just like straight up bad that I don't recommend watching it. It's just not worth it.
I didn't watch it because when you hate watch something, you're still providing the views, you're still providing the stats, and so I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah, I guess I was like, I'm a little bit whatever about that. Like if they make a sequel, like I just won't watch the sequel. And they won't make a sequel. It's fucking Cinderella. Like,
yeah.
But
I thought that maybe you watched it for Idina Menzel.
I do love Idina Menzel. This is the worst thing I've ever seen her in. I don't even like, honestly, no words. Like, Idina, girl, did you learn the lines the day of? Like, nothing. She brought nothing. Every line was dry. And she wasn't even like evil. She had like no personality. She didn't do anything evil at all. The whole movie. The evil stepmother did nothing evil. It was very weird. It was a very weird movie.
So, confession. I've seen Frozen before. I've never seen Frozen 2.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
But we can't go further because I know you don't like Frozen, and it's one of my faves. And I've had people have slandered my faves too many times in the recent weeks in front of me, and I can't do more of it.
I wasn't going to do that.
Okay.
I was not going to do that at all. In fact, there is a channel. There's a channel called Cinema Therapy. I don't know if anybody here has watched it. It is just us two, but I'm also talking to you, the viewer of our vlog. But Cinema Therapy did Anatomy of a Hero, and they did it on both Elsa and Anna. And as I was watching it, they started talking about Frozen 2 and about how like it seemed like some of the growth that she made in Frozen 1, it kind of backtracked a little bit. But they were also explaining that like that happens in real life with people in therapy. Like you get to a good place and then you have a setback and then you have to get back up. And so I was thinking about it because I'm like, I have never watched Frozen 2. So like the second half of this video, I don't know anything because I'd never watched.
Frozen 2 is weird because some people that don't like Frozen liked Frozen 2 a lot more, but also the opposite happened. It's a very weird movie because even in there's a documentary about it on Disney Plus, and they fully are like, you could basically tell that they just never figured out the story and the movie came out. Like they never totally figured it out and they just kind of had to finish it because they had a deadline. And that kind of sucks because you can tell that there's like the movie tries to answer questions that I didn't have the first time. Like I honestly never cared where Elsa got her powers from, and B, it doesn't matter. It's not important to the story of where she got her powers from. She was born with them. It's fine. It's a fairy tale.
It was super important. The
it
whole
doesn't matter.
In the room and the parents going to the gnome. I'm like, is this a land where people know that magic exists? Is like the royal family, is their power based on the fact that they come from magical stock? I was totally wanting to know about this.
I think you might need to watch Frozen 2 then. Because they will talk about it. It's all about like the magicalness of Elsa.
Because like if her powers weren't strange or weird or foreign, then why did they wipe her sister's memory?
Because it was harmful.
And then also her sister not having a huge reaction when her sister comes out with her magic a second time, but then like everyone else being like, she's a witch. So I'm just like, okay.
I think it's because Anna's a nice person and she loves her sister.
I just was like, where does magic sit in this land? Is this something that like this is considered old religion? Like okay.
I think it's because like the original plot of Frozen was that Elsa, like that there's this legend that someone will put 1,000-year curse on the town for like eternal winter, you know, that like one day there's going to be some bitch that comes about and curses the entire land of Arendelle to eternal winter. And that was in the original, like when Frozen stopped being, when Elsa was no longer the villain of the story and became like, you know, more of the anti-hero, that was a plot line. And then it got cut kind of towards the end and they took that out. And I guess they just never like gave us a solid answer in the movie. But again, I also don't feel like we needed one because I feel like I got what I needed from that movie anyways.
I don't know. That has always been a point of contention for me because my main thing that I did not like was the parents. Like the rest of the movie is fine. I like the songs. Like it's a good movie, but the parents, I was like, you know, normally I'm sad that Disney parents die, but fuck those two.
Man, maybe we should watch Frozen 2 again. The parents, you get more answer.
I hated her parents. I'm like, who does this to their baby?
Wow. Maybe we should start a second channel where we watch Disney movies and you complain about them and I try and tell you why they're good.
Well, okay, like the Disney movies that I like, I don't think are your favorite. So yeah, we would constantly be fighting all the time. Okay,
but what Disney movies do you like though?
I love Lady and the Tramp. It used to be my favorite Disney movie.
Well, that's a good movie. I admit that that's a good movie.
I feel like a lot of people can't get past the Siamese song.
Yeah, I mean the racism is there, but like it is a solid. That's weird though, because people like, we don't like the Siamese parts, but we love Aristocats and Peter Pan, and it's like, those are arguably worse, guys.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where like, I feel shame when I tell people Lady and the Tramp is my favorite Disney movie, because like all throughout my childhood, that was my favorite Disney movie.
Well, that's a good one too, because it's one of the few examples of a movie where like the man adjusts to the woman's life. Because she goes back to the family. She's like, no, I want to be a rich bitch. Like, yeah, I am not living in the slums. We are going to be wealthy people. And he's
She's
like,
like,
yeah,
I'm
okay.
so sorry. It was fun hanging out with the Poors tonight, but I gotta go back home.
Yeah.
But also like Peggy Lee as the pound dog singing about he's a tramp.
Oh, and the Eric Larson animation for that was so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
and like when the dog catcher came to the house and goes away with Lady and like all the dogs with the carriage wheels and stuff.
Uh-huh.
That was so scary when I was a kid, but so exciting to watch.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so what else do you like though besides Lady and the Tramp?
I mean, I will always have a soft spot in my heart for The Little Mermaid because it
Uh,
was like the first Disney movie that I knew all the words to. And like, I mean, when I was 10, 11, I could literally mouth the dialogue back to the movie because I watched it that many times. So
oh yeah.
like, that's really important for me.
I was just watching the Howard Ashman documentary on Disney Plus, which you haven't seen. You should see. It's wonderful. The man saved Disney and impacted the world in a way that he will never know because he passed away before the impact was fully there.
Yeah. And then I feel like Beauty and the Beast has the most solid soundtrack of any Disney movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but hit songs.
See, no, I agree. Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. Actually, oddly enough, that is exactly what I'm doing today. Is me and my best friend. I told her, she was like, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" I said, "I want to watch Little Mermaid and then Beauty and the Beast and then Aladdin back to back to back because those are the three that really pushed Disney and saved them in the late 80s, early 90s because it saved Disney animation.
Yeah.
Seriously, Disney animation was about to go under. And those three movies, thanks to Howard Ashman, saved Disney. And it's like the new generation of animators. So it's like interesting to watch the movies the like animation gets better each movie, but there's like still nuggets of great animation, like the ballroom scene in Beauty and the Beast where the camera swoops down. Someone had to draw them. James Baxter drew them dancing from tiny people. They're dancing. It's already really hard to draw people dancing because like trying to time it to the rhythm is really hard in animation. And then you have them like spinning and turning and the camera swooping. And it's like, a person drew this. A person drew that. How is that not insane? This is insane. Anyway, sorry. I love animation. I really love Disney animation.
Yeah, you're fine. But like, I think it's just hit after hit, hit after hit. Like, when will a movie ever have? Because Aladdin is good, but Aladdin does not have as many good songs. Mainly, it's like Friend Like Me, Prince Ali, A Whole New World. That's it.
Well, guess what? Two of them were written by Howard Ashman, and all of his other songs got cut. Have you listened to the deleted song "Proud of Your Boy"? You should listen to it. It's wonderful. It will make you cry. It's basically Aladdin singing a song about. It's when his mother was originally in the movie, about how he just wants to make his mom proud. How one day he hopes that he can make his mother proud. You know, it's very beautiful.
Well, like I said, A Whole New World, fantastic song. The Peebo Bryson cover that he did, I think is it Alita Adams that's in that one with him? But anyway, the pop version of A Whole New World. Really pop song. I think it was produced maybe by David Foster. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Beauty and the Beast, Celine Dion and Peebo Bryson. Come on now. Come on now.
I've never listened to that version. I only listened to the movie version.
You've never heard the Celine Dion version?
Why would I care about her when I have the Angela Lansbury movie version? I know it's what like made her famous internationally, but like, I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of Celine Dion. I know like
this is why we cannot review Disney together because my face is on fire right now. I cannot. Why? What?
No, I've listened to like.
You haven't heard the Peebo Bryson version of A Whole New World, I'm assuming.
Maybe once when I was a kid. I don't like Disney. I don't like the pop songs of Disney songs. I don't like the pop version of Disney songs.
These are perfect. These are perfect though. They're like award-winning perfection. This is not the same as Demi Lovato singing the Frozen song. This is not that. This is different. This is actually perfect. And it was it was formatted perfectly for the radio. So it sounds like, it doesn't even sound like it comes from a Disney movie. It just sounds like the best 90s pop music ever produced. That's what it sounds like.
Okay, I'll give him a listen. Then you have to watch Frozen 2.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, we disagree about Coco. I think Coco is a phenomenal movie. It's highly emotional. And I think of all of the Disney death movies, it is the one where the death was the most deserved, even though it wasn't like a real death, it was like an afterlife death. But I was just like, this is how you do that. This is how you do that. Even though like the Lion King death was very well deserved as well.
Yeah. No, I think Coco's a good movie. It just isn't like my favorite or anything. And I thought the pacing was too fast.
Yeah, I loved Coco. I just, it had so many great dramatic beats. Also, I guess it's not a deep cut, but it's also like, it shows that they paid a lot of attention to the culture. Coco watches very much like a telenovela.
Okay.
And so that's kind of cool because that's a very big part of Latin culture is telenovelas.
Right.
So like all the like emotional betrayals and backstabbings and stuff, that is very much in the wheelhouse of the Mexican Latin soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciated that. But yeah, Mama Coco, like her singing with her grandson and like kind of getting out of that dementia haze to remember her father and, you know, the secrets that the families have and the way that like family history gets told by those who survived.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other conversation. And that's a total Disney movie that I would love to see, like not necessarily an animated movie, but I would love to see a Disney live action movie of like a Black family telling the story of how they ended up where they ended up, and like having a journey adventure movie of a Black person moving from one part of the country to the other and all of the barriers that racism presents for them before they make it to where they land. Because as a white person, you might not be aware of this, but there's something called the Great Migration. And right after the Civil War, tons of Black people either headed north or they headed west. And that's why there's large Black communities in California, there's large Black communities in Chicago, there's large Black communities in like along the Canadian border. And there's just throughout the West, we kind of go that way because we were trying to escape slavery. Because after the Civil War, white people literally opened the door to the plantation and said, get. Like that's how it happened. So it's like, you don't have time to pack, you don't have any money, you don't have any education. This is the gate. Just like if you're letting a dog out of your yard, go. And these people had to figure out how to live life. And they knew the South was not going to be hospitable. So they all left. And so like in my family, our Great Migration story, because most Black families have it, our Great Migration story is about ancestor peoples who got let off of his plantation, and the first thing he did was try to figure out where his family was. He was looking for his sister and he was looking for his mother, and he never found them his entire life. But he walked from South Carolina to Louisiana, walking, and he stopped at every Black church along the way and gave people his name, told them where he was headed, and told them who he was looking for and their names. And he spent all of his life trying to find his mother and his sister. But in the meantime, in walking from South Carolina to Louisiana, he made enough money to buy the first piece of land that anyone in our family ever owned. And so like, I've always thought that his story was cool, but I'd never seen that particular story told.
Yeah.
And I want to see it done in a fantastical, you know what I wanted to have? I wanted to have the Big Fish treatment.
Okay. Yeah. I think that'd be a great movie. I think that's a perfect story. I think that it definitely is something that should be told. I have never heard of the Great Migration, so I definitely think it's a movie that should and deserves to exist.
Yeah. Well, are those of you who are watching this, we have totally ventured off into the cameras off and now we're just talking territory.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get these Instagrams out the way, and then we'll tell you about what we're doing next week. Because what we're doing next week is amazing. I'm so excited about it. It's probably one of the best ideas we've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the Instagram for the After We Play Thinkin is Seon. So it's L-E-E, so it's two E's, S-A-E-O-N. And he's got 357,000 followers, which I want to social blade his Instagram because I am certain that at least 300,000 of these followers came because of Light on Me. And I don't know, Mason, why you're looking him up because you already follow him.
I'm getting ready for the other ones.
Okay, so the next one we have is the President Don. And his Instagram is his name, which is Choi Chani. So it's CHOE and then CHANI. So it's Choi Chani. And he's got 189,000 followers, which again, the man Black must have been doing super bad because he was an idol and he has less follows than the kid who this is his like first main acting gig. So next we have the Instagram for Shinwoo because I like him, he's cute. His Instagram is Yusuk _. So it's YOUSEOK_. And he's got like a little bit longer hair in some of these pictures. Like they're just nice pictures. And also we didn't even talk about it, but he gave a really good kiss in the show. He did a good job.
He gave a good kiss. I couldn't tell if the other actor was just trying to be in character or if he just didn't give anything to the kiss.
Yeah. So there's that. And then the last one I have is for Namgung because we liked him as an actor and I want people to follow him because he seemed like a nice guy or at least a competent actor. He has a future as the sidekick. Like he should be going far in K-dramas because he plays a great sidekick. So his Instagram is real. So I'm going to count the O's here because I don't want anybody to get confused. Okay, so it's the letter W and then 4 O's. So it's WOOOO and then REAL. Real. That's his Instagram. He has 107,000 followers. So yeah, the one that has the most followers is our lead actor, Taekyung, but probably following him up would be the actor who plays Shinwoo. And then after that, it's the actor who played school council president and then our sidekick. So those are all the Instagrams. And then Mason, did you have a manga of the day?
No, remember we were gonna do the like webtoon spinoff of this, of the teacher?
Right. Okay, so in the very last episode, they throw a birthday party for the teacher. And the teacher is, I guess, looking at a bulletin board where he puts up the pictures from the party. And he's walking out of the student council's workroom. And there's a man waiting in the hallway for him. And we only know it's a man because we see the men's shoes. That's it. And then he says a name. Well, that is an allusion to a manhwa, which you can find on Tappy Tunes. You might have to pay for it, I don't know, called Behind the Desk. And it is about the romance story between the teacher and his boyfriend. And it has gratuitous sexual activity. Like it's got lightsaber penises. And we only know it has lightsaber penises because those lightsabers are pressed against somebody's ass crack. So if you enjoy that, that is there for you. And
the phrasing of that is there for you.
I'm not gonna lie. There is a lady who has a BL manhwa manga review channel on YouTube, and she had one video where she talked about her favorite manhwa and manga penises because every country does it differently. Like some do the lightsaber, some do the blur, some do the line through it.
Yeah.
And the lightsaber to me is the stupidest one. And it's stupid because like it's shaped exactly like what it is. So it's not like we don't know that this is a dick and balls. Just because you've made it into a glow stick does not mean we don't know what this is. Also, like, if you think that this is hiding what it is, then what are we supposed to imagine is actually happening? That someone is actually putting a literal light stick up their ass? So that's why I'm like, it's dumb.
There's so many weird shit in yaoi. The see-through ones really get to me. Those really tickle me. When it's the see-through of like the penis inside the person and you're like, why did we do this?
There was one we saw where the penis has a face because the penis talks?
No. I'm still thinking about this one manga that I own, and I have to say, it's honestly one of my favorite boys love mangas. And I have recommended it, but there is one panel in one page, just one small panel, where the point of view is you are inside the asshole, and it's the guy spreading it open with his fingers.
I remember that.
5 minutes ago, we're like, Lady and the Tramp, what a good movie. And now we're like, press that dick up against his ass. Peekaboo.
At least it wasn't a face instead of like a.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, I'm just gonna stretch you out a bit, and it's like, okay. I mean, yeah, that is a thing, but like.
I think my favorite one. There's this one. It's a manhwa, and it's an impreg manhwa, so limited audience. But like the penis has a face, and when it goes inside of the person, like the penis makes expressions as it gets closer to ejaculating. So like when it first goes in, it's like, oh, and then it's yay, and then it's pressure, and then finally woo, and then there's like squirt, and I'm just like,
people are wild in. People are sometimes people use their drawing talents for questionable purposes.
Right? I'm just like, what? Why is this what we invest time on? Why, like you're in the room, like, okay, now that I've drawn the shaft, see a face, just to take away some of the sexual energy, a face. But yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of drawings for that, and the lightsaber one is my least. The lightsaber one and probably the blurry one, because the blurry one is just kind of like, it just looks bad on the page.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's distracting on the page. So yeah, behind the desk is the love story of the teacher, and the actual show itself, we talked about it earlier, it is an Otome game. I tried to download it, I couldn't find it in the store, so I tried the Play Store and I tried the App Store, and I couldn't find it there. So I don't know if it's like Korea location specific, but it does exist, and you can actually see a couple of panels of it on YouTube. So if you type in Save It Boys High School, something like that, it has like a little brief gameplay there.
Okay, so next week we decided to do something really fun. We're toting the line of like what we're accepting to do on this show, but we had to make an exception. We are going to be reviewing and discussing Lil Nas X's visual album, Montero.
Yes. So the video for That's What I Want came out, and I remember watching the video and thinking, like, this is a boys' love. Like, this is totally a boys' love. And then it turns out that there's videos for every single track, and some of them are linking storylines, some of them are not, but it was like, we review so much from the perspective of straight women a lot of the time, writing for gay people. Let's go ahead and like review some real queer content made by queer people, and honestly, like the amount of bravery that Lil Nas X has shown in just doing this deserves to be honored.
I'll never forget watching Call Me By Your Name the first time and just thinking like, wow, I feel like my life would have been better had I had a pop star like this to look up to. And there's so many young queer Black boys that have that to look up to now. And it's just so great. And then he was at the Met Gala and he had 3 costume changes and they were all good. And it was like, yes.
Yeah. I mean, he's really doing it. He is really changing the paradigm in these spaces, these straight spaces, and the straights can't handle. Like the amount of, we'll talk about it when we do our review, but let's just say this. The reason why we're calling him brave is because the levels of backlash that he has received at every fucking turn in his career have been unbelievable. Even before he came out, just when Old Town Road came out, and the country folks were like, "This isn't country,"
right?
You know, like it's just been nothing but adversity. And I listened to the album, and there are a few lyrics about, you know, his doubts regarding his career, and for him to still decide it's too late to reverse the path that my life has taken. So I'm just going to absolutely not only live in my truth, but throw it in your fucking face. Like, what a brave person. What a brave person. So I can't wait to talk about it. Huh?
He's only 22. He's so young.
He's a baby. He's a baby. I didn't realize that Megan Thee Stallion and Jungkook from BTS are the same age. These are babies. These pop stars out here are babies.
How old is Megan?
She's super young. I think she's like under 25.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
I will ask the internet because I don't want to be lying to the audience, but I will ask the internet because I believe in truth. So let's see. Megan.
She's like 18, right? She's also super young.
She's 26. She was born in 1995.
I think her and Doja are the same age, or roughly.
Yeah. And she's 5'10", which is shorter than I thought she was going to be. I mean, that's tall for a lady, but it's shorter than I thought she was. I thought she was 6 feet tall. But yeah, she just, these kids are doing things. And of course, they're not kids to you because this is your peer group. But for me, in my 30s, I'm just like, these kids are just doing so much. Another reason why Mason is the best, because I can only appreciate the achievements of his peer group through watching the outstanding achievements of our very own Mason.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. Oh man, 2 episodes in a row where you complimented me.
Oh, we're doing it next week. But next week is also a really special week for Mason as well, because his show. Oh no, not the show. Never mind. His favorite is coming out with her album. Supposedly. You said CL's coming out with her album next week.
No. So Key releases his album, and the next day CL releases the second single off of her album. It comes out the same day as CL's album, which means it'll either be the best or worst day of my life. But that's not until end of October.
Okay, cool. So I'm excited for all these good things to be happening for us. I mean, our faves are dazzling. They're pushing the paradigm.
This Key album, I just know it's going to be good. Something about it.
And Minho's out here being gay on main, which is amazing.
Love that for him.
Yes, well, he is playing gay, but for those of you who know.
Yeah, there's a dog. Yeah. All right. So next week, Lil Nas X. Thank you all for following us on quite the journey today.
Yes, you've gotten a sneak peek behind the scenes. That's for fucking sure.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.